Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network. I'm Zulfi Sheikh here, joined by Cody Wiles. Fortunately, no Kyle Ramnerine again this week. I know I sound like a broken record, but he is a busy man. He's an older, wiser man now, Cody. His birthday just passed, so if you haven't been able to say that to Kyle, happy belated birthday to him. Everybody show him some love down below in the comments or send him a message on social media. Cody, you weren't there, but we had a basketball run for Kyle's birthday. And towards the end, he was starting to catch fire a little bit. He made a couple threes. He was feeling good. I think I may have instigated him into like a bit of a heat check, and he forced up a very late break in a close game. But that's part of playing pickup hoops. But it was a fun time. But how have you been, Cody?
Hey, I've been good. I wish I could have made it. Unfortunately, was doing some work, so tough to balance it all. Hey, Kyle is getting older, man, getting a little more comfortable in the league, so it's nice that he's able to start to show it a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad you guys had fun, and happy birthday, Kyle.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to
And
end
I'm
it off
doing
there.
good too. Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah,
good.
I'm glad. Yeah, thank you for mentioning how you're doing as well, Cody. We always want to know that you are doing well. But besides that, not a ton that happened in Raptors land this week, but we'll still have plenty to talk about. We're going to go over some more star hunting rumors that relate to the Toronto Raptors, some possible leaked jerseys that are circulating online. I'm sure we'll both have some interesting thoughts on that. Well, we'll kind of give our initial impressions on games 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals. Game 3 will be later tonight once this comes out. And then if we have time for it, we'll also catch you up on everything CEBL, as we all know that I love to do. Before we get into it, as always, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. That way we make sure we're getting to as many new people as possible, and comment down below what you've made of the recent Raptors buzz. And again, wish Kyle a happy birthday. But with that being said, let's run it back. And Cody, we're going to do a bit of a rumor roundup similar to last week, but I think as far as the big fish, the Giannis Antetokounmpo front, I don't even want to say things have stagnated. They may have gone in the opposite direction of that, and we'll chat about that in a second. But I think let's freshen it up a bit by focusing on another name. We kind of did talk about this person last week, but it was recently reported by ESPN's Shams Charania that Kevin Durant was the name that the Knicks actually made a trade offer for. So his name was back in rumor circles. I know we talked about how the Phoenix Suns are kind of looking at using KD as a way to kind of like reset their team. And then the way Toronto gets into this mix, recently Jake Fisher, NBA insider, he was speaking on his podcast, and he kind of spoke and mentioned Toronto, saying that Toronto has likewise been painted by numerous NBA figures as a potential suitor for Durant, particularly if Antetokounmpo doesn't reach the open market. The Raptors, furthermore, would figure to have a more realistic shot at assembling a competitive trade offer for Durant compared to the mammoth offers that the Bucks would inevitably seek for Antetokounmpo's services. And just to tie a bow on that, Cody, today, as of recording, Brian Windhorst, ESPN, did basically report saying that he believes that Kevin Durant will get traded in the coming weeks. So he's pretty confident that a KD move will happen. Obviously, no like real indication yet that Toronto will be involved. We can get into KD's numbers and stuff in a bit, but Cody, your initial impressions of the KD buzz, I guess, like growing, and now the Raptors being attached to that possibility, given this logic of no Giannis. So what about KD?
Yeah, last week I we talked about Katie a little bit, and I guess when you have Giannis still on the table, it was like Katie doesn't seem as appealing, but now it's looking like Giannis probably isn't going to be going anywhere, unfortunately, for every other fan of a team that isn't the Milwaukee Bucks. So Kevin Durant looks like he's going to be, excuse me, the best option available. If you want a big fish, as the Raptors reportedly want to go get. I knowing all that now, taking a week back to think about it, I don't hate it if they were to go get him. I think I have what the trade would be. I think I've
Okay.
kind of put that together. So I've a lot of my time this past couple days just been sitting and thinking about if this is what is going to happen and this would be the offer. Would I like it? And I don't know, but I mean, yeah, if they Toronto's half court offense has been terrible, he would obviously help in that. If he were to come to Toronto, I wonder what the fit alongside like a Brandon Ingram would look like. That'd be
Yeah.
kind of funny and cool at the same time. So, yeah, it would be. I'm open to it, but I mean, uh, a 36-year-old who's making 55 million on a 1-year deal. It is also who has battled some injuries.
Yeah, that's a big
It's
part of it.
always tough. It's always tough to want to pay a high price. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And Cody, you wrote about it on RaptorsRepublic.com, kind of like the reporting surrounding it. And a big note from the I guess the Phoenix Suns front is it's been reported that they are interested in a center in return to obviously fix their situation there. Basically, since trading DeAndre Ayton, they haven't been able to find a solution for their team, whether it was Nick Richards that they traded for, Yusuf Nurkic before that. Nothing has really stuck for them so far. Obviously, I'm not sure what your package that you come up with is. I'm assuming Jakob Poeltl and his money could be a part of it, especially with the Suns' interest. So that's something to keep in mind. I think in a vacuum, the idea of adding KD to this team is a lot of fun, given the context that it wouldn't require as much as Giannis, obviously. Like, and that's what a lot of the reporting is saying. If the Raptors could get KD, I don't want to say for pennies on the dollar, but for a much lower price than it would have costed for Giannis, to keep a lot of this nucleus together. Like, essentially, at that point, are you trying to throw Phoenix a pick or two plus the salaries to make it happen to get Kevin Durant, who, yes, 36, yes, 55 million, yes, injury prone, but just averaged 26 and a half points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 stocks, shooting basically 50, 40, 84 from the
Yeah.
field. And so, like, that spacing, that fourth quarter scoring, that half court offense, like you said, Cody, next to Scotty Barnes, makes a ton of sense to me. I will absolutely concede to anyone that brings up the Brandon Ingram point. That is something that would be head scratching. It'd be like seeing Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant light next to each other. It's basically two very similar players in terms of how they can operate. I think that's an interesting part. And I will also concede that there's question marks for Kevin Durant defensively. I've always been like an advocate to say that, especially during his prime, and obviously that's easier to say because he was next to some of those guys in Golden State who were awesome defensively. But I always thought Kevin Durant was an amazing help defender. I think he's a little underrated in that aspect, to be quite honest. But his defensive rating has basically regressed year over year for the last 4 seasons. And this past season in Phoenix, it was basically the worst it's been his entire career. We can give some of that away because team context matters. It's a 36-win Suns team. It's not like he was surrounded by great defenders either, but he obviously does play a part in that, especially if it's gotten worse year over year. But I think in a vacuum, the idea of adding KD at good value is something you have to seriously consider. So in my mind, I'm kind of there right now where, like, it just truly comes down to what the offer would be.
Okay, well, I'll ask you because I mean, the more I've been sitting, studying on it, and thinking about it, and if the Suns, per Matt Moore of the Action Network, they're wanting to prioritize acquiring a center back. So, I mean, Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett makes the money work,
Yeah.
and it's it's a matter of what you want to do picks wise after that. If there would be picks, I'm not sure. I don't think you could give up 9 in that scenario if I'm Toronto. I think
Yeah.
if you're going to trade Jakob like that, you need to draft a big. You're kind of forced into drafting a center at that point. So I'll ask you, I mean, just to lay the baseline, would you do RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl straight up for Kevin Durant?
I think so. I think I would, just because, like, see, I say that I'm not even selling myself completely. This is the hard part because I'm like,
Well,
okay, these are. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, that's literally what I've been thinking about the last couple of days. Because if they want a center, I would assume Phoenix would want to still be competitive. I think they still want to be competitive around Devin Booker and what they got there. You
Yeah,
add
for
in
sure.
2 guys like that. It's just I don't know if it totally makes sense from Toronto wise, especially if you're throwing in picks. I'm not. I mean, he's Durant is a ceiling raiser, right? It's just
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's
It's just
really it's funky.
yeah, it's funky. That's a great word. It is super funky because you're right. It would raise the ceiling in an Eastern Conference landscape where there's so many question marks right now. So could that make them competitive? Absolutely. But, like, I think the way I was looking at it initially was just like, okay, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, extension eligible. These are 2 guys where you have to make financial decisions on soon. You're already so financially top heavy. So, like, maybe cashing in and getting Kevin Durant, who we know, like, just it would be like you kind of take away mouths to feed in that process, and then you get back a guy KD who can give you 26 and 6. But at the same time, like you said, Cody, he has 1 year left on his deal, owed 55 million. There's no, like, we're doing the Kawhi situation all over again with a far less better team, with not a player, respectfully to KD, not at Kawhi's level at that time, even though Kawhi had his own question marks. So, like, I like the idea of it. I like the funkiness. I'd rather have funkiness with dynamic scorers and good spacing than funkiness without it, like the Raptors have right now.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But then, like, there is just so much risk to it because if you give up the picks and two players that like by no means you were guaranteed to give away in free agency, the Raptors could obviously try to re-sign both RJ and Jakob, right? So if you give those guys away and you give the pick away for Kevin Durant, who may or may not stay, like I do think there's a risk to it. So like in a roundabout way, I might be talking myself out of it, but like I think again, like if you're giving one pick plus those two guys, and you feel like there's other moves to be made. Like I'm not saying the Raptors have to trade Brandon Ingram right away or anything like that. Obviously, like he's younger, he has his own question marks, but he's under contract compared to KD. So if the Raptors feel like they have other decisions they could make to continue building this team, I think it's very interesting and worth considering. But like the more I think about it, like you, Cody, the more I'm like stuck at a crossroads because like it's basically an all-in type of trade, but you're not 100% sure the payoff is going to be worth it.
Yeah, and like yeah, he has 1 year deal. It could just be a rental. I mean, the injuries are there. Like, I mean, if you get a really good Kevin Durant, then
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know what a really good Kevin Durant at this stage is going to look like. Maybe in a new situation with a bit more defensive stability around
Insulate.
him. Yeah, he could pop a little more on that end like he did in the past, with that weak side rim protection and the overall help defending, like you had mentioned with his length. But yeah, it's I've come around a bit more on it since last week. But I mean, if the package is going to be, the Suns probably want Jakob Pertl, RJ Barrett plus, and
Yeah.
it would be tough to see even straight up is a bit of a I don't know, just because you're is that really what you want to be cashing in on right now? So
Yeah.
I think it would kind of take away from what Toronto was building. So I think if it was like a yes or no for me, I'd say no right now and keep holding until that guy comes available, or like someone like a Darius Garland. Apparently, the Cavs are listening to calls on. Like that's somebody you can go push those chips in with a bit more. I would maybe lean a little bit younger to go push those chips in.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and it's funny I say this now because I think entering this conversation I would have leaned yes, but I think ultimately, just like you, Cody, I'm gonna end up saying no because the age and the contract number are two things that are just hard for me to get past. Because, like, if you're the Raptors and you say, okay, we're not gonna give you number 9 because we're gonna need to trade a center because we're giving you Jakob Pertl, we'll give you a future first round pick. And in your head, you're probably like, well, if we have Kevin Durant, Scotty Barnes, and some of these other guys, that pick may not be all that high, anyways. But then if Kevin Durant leaves you, and then you're down a couple players as well, and you're even younger now, then maybe that pick wasn't going to be super valuable. You just never know what happens in the NBA, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't look like a great trade at all to begin with. So I think because of those uncertainties, ultimately I do lean no on this deal. Obviously, it'll come down to the package. But Cody, you brought up an interesting point where, like, you said you'd probably hold your chips until you think that guy is available that you're ready to kind of like push it all into like onto the table for. So recently, with all this Kevin Durant news, ESPN's Brian Windhorst, he basically reported that Giannis Antetokounmpo trade market does not exist right now because Giannis has not requested a trade. The Bucks are currently, and he used the phrase right now, not interested in trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. Basically, I guess my question is, if not Giannis, would you rather just stay put, not make a decision, or do you think the Raptors should continue this hunt for a star, whatever that may be? Like you said, a Darius Garland, who, by the way, hopefully speedy recovery to him. He's out for a couple of months after having toe surgery. But like if it's Garland, again, a KD or someone else, some of those other names we mentioned last week, do you still think that it makes sense for them to go after somebody, or should they just keep waiting and building what they're building?
I do think it makes sense to consolidate and go out and get somebody if the jump is what they want to do. And clearly, I think it's something they want to do. I mean, that's been all the reporting, and their moves have clearly signaled that they want to make a jump. So I'm totally fine with that. Obviously, it comes down to who's being traded and for what. Then
Yeah.
maybe my tune would change a little bit depending on how much you're really buying in. Like for Giannis, obviously, you're giving up quite a bit, but I mean, for one of the guards we talked about last week, Darius Garland, also, um, I think I would because you need they need that guard creator, like especially if they go get a guard like a Garland, like a Trey Young. I mean, I'd be a little less sold on Trey Young, but one of those guys that's available. I think yeah, they have they have a lot that they can give. All the future picks, and then obviously all these rookies and young guys, plus 2 more rookies coming in. Um, but it also there's no rush to me. I mean, why
Yeah,
not
fair.
continue to let these guys grow? There's going to be a roster crunch at some point if you're looking 3 years in the future, 2, 3 years in the future. Like decisions are going to have to be made, even close as next season. Like we just mentioned with RJ Barrett and Jakob Pertl, what's going to be the direction here? Are you going to commit to those guys and kind of start that window, or are you going to retool just a little bit to like more of like the last year's rookies age and Scotty? So it's um yeah, a lot of questions team building moving forward. If they were to commit to somebody like that, it would, clear up a lot of
Yeah.
they'd have a full direction. But I mean, it's fine to have the optionality for now. I would rather hold than, you know, go get a I don't know, is Kevin Durant a damaged asset? I'd rather hold than
Yeah, yeah.
go get him.
Yeah, you know what's just funny, Cody? This kind of reminds me of like, was it 2 seasons ago before the fire sale of like OG and Pascal? Or I guess you could even go the year before that when Fred was still around and then he walked. We were always talking about like pick a decision, like pick a lane, like make a decision. Like, are you rebuilding? Or are you continuing to be competitive? And like we were just like, we just wanted an answer. We wanted to know what the direction of this team was. Direction, that's the word I was looking for. But I feel like we're kind of back in a similar spot where, like you said, Cody, they have the assets to consolidate and like pick a direction to jump into competitiveness, which they appear to be leaning towards this upcoming season. I don't want to say there's like full expectations, but I think they do want to see this roster be competitive for at least a good chunk of the year. But like you said, there also doesn't feel like there needs to be a rush on it. These guys are naturally progressing, again, because of injuries and everything that's happened. They haven't had a lot of time together, especially if you talk about the Brandon Ingram of it all, who hasn't played with this team yet, even though he's been signed to a contract extension. So, like, do you kind of just want to see what the guys have? Which in some ways reminds me back in the day when Masai Ujiri was considering trading Kyle Lowry. His bags were packed and everything, and this was after the whole Rudy Gay situation, and they kind of just let things breathe a little bit. And then you saw what happened with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. They figured it out. That team figured it out, and you just saw what it sparked 10 years of success for this franchise. So, like, could that happen again? Possibly. So you don't really need to rush it. But like you said, Cody, they're just in such a good position if they wanted to, they could make a decision. So now we're back to this whole crossroads of what direction do we pick?
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't know if that's just like us as like trying to like
Yeah.
lead one direction. I mean, I think I think they made good decisions at the draft last year. They had, by all accounts, I mean, going into the year, the language that was being spoken at the preseason avail, like we all knew what kind of this year was going to be, and
Yeah.
I think they checked a lot of boxes. I mean, all the rookies basically hit. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more out of the group as a whole. Uh, Grady had a strong stretch. RJ Barrett had a career year. I mean, Scotty stagnated a little bit, but he took a step defensively. Like I think it was a good season despite the record total. And now they're gonna add another top 10 pick, and it's so funny. Like we were all so mad, and I remember saying like, just okay, it's the Raptors are still gonna get a good player. It's okay. And now there's gonna be 3 or 4 good players at 9 who should be available, who I like for Toronto. So continue to just keep building, keep building. I'm still excited for next season. Like even if they don't go
Yeah.
get a big fish, apparently that they want to, like they should still be a playoff team. It will still be fun to see Brandon Ingram, but yeah, I just wish the Giannis news came out last week before we spent 45 minutes talking about him to Toronto. That was kind of a
Yeah.
bummer. We come on here next week all somber and that he's not coming, but yeah, I mean, I, push the chips in. I think if the time calls right, but I don't think the time is now if Giannis isn't available.
Yeah. Also, on that point, Brian Windhorst, what a tease! I gotta say, he's the one on the Hoop Collective who brought up Toronto's name as the team itching to make a deal. He again the whole phrase of big fish and how like Giannis is the name that's pegged as like the big fish on the market, and then he's the one who comes out a couple like basically a week and a half later, and it's like, oh yeah, Giannis doesn't want to trade, Bucks don't want to trade him. Just like way to play with our emotions, Windy. Like it's
Yeah.
like that hurt a little bit. But
He's part of
Cody,
the reason we're 2 weeks away from the draft and we're talking about
yeah.
we've been talking about trades. We barely talked the draft the last 2 weeks, so Yeah, we'll have to. Well, I think we should be coming with more draft content these next couple of weeks. Like, screw
Hopefully.
the trades. I'm done getting my
Yeah.
hopes up. I'm done getting
Yeah.
my hopes up.
Yeah, hopefully we're done with the speculation and the rumors for a bit, and we can focus on something a bit more concrete, and which is ironic because the draft is probably anything but concrete, but it's at least a bit more known than this, I guess, trade situation that could possibly be in the works for the Toronto Raptors. But Cody, something even more lighthearted than that I want to talk about is there was a bit of other news relating to the Raptors, but not on the court. I guess it is technically on the court, but it was about their threads. There was a recent leak about a ton of City Edition jerseys for the upcoming season. Amongst them was the Toronto Raptors possible jersey for the 2025-26 season, the City Edition one that is. And like the show, they decided to run it back, but in a bit of a different way. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting them up on screen. To our left here is the possibly leaked 2025-26 City Edition jersey. For people listening, I guess I'll try to describe this. It is the Dino, I guess, jersey with a base black. It has the Dino pinstripes. It has the Raptor on it with the Toronto in the Dino font. But the Raptor is wearing a chevron jersey from the championships, the red with the white, and the Raptor is all white. Like I don't know how else to put that. It's basically, if you see on the screen here, that it's the 2021-22 City Edition jersey recolored. Like, genuinely speaking, it is the exact same jersey. They just decided to go with another colorway for it. And again, they incorporated white into this one. The original 2021-22 one was black and gold, the kind of the OVO hit that they used to have. Cody, I've got some thoughts on this, but I'll start with you. What are you thinking here?
This might low key be a hot take. I actually, if this is what it's going to be, I actually don't hate it. I mean,
Okay.
I've seen everybody online just absolutely trash it. I actually, well, one, I see why people, I understand why people are trashing it. One, it's not purple. Everybody wants purple.
Yeah.
Everybody's been wanting purple. And two, the chevron. Everybody hates the chevron. Um, I I don't know. The white kind of, I like it. I sue me, lock me up, throw me away. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it looks all right. The chevron's a bit funky on the Raptor. Like, I don't love that, but it reminds me of the championship. And I don't know. I kind of like it. I like the black base, the white, the Raptor kind of pops with it. Again, I'd love to see it in real life. I remember we talked about we talked about the leaked jerseys last year,
Yeah.
and I remember liking it and then seeing it in person and being like, no. And then maybe it's the same thing, but as of right now, I'm probably on the higher end of like people who love it. I'm assuming you're about to come and trash it and speak for
I'm
everybody.
not. I'm not. Yeah. Look, I won't trash it. When I say I have thoughts, I'm more puzzled than anything.
Yeah,
One, I
I,
don't.
I
I
I
don't.
feel that.
Yeah, I don't know why you needed to basically rehash a design you've already used and then
That's
go
the other
with
thing. Yeah.
different. Yeah, and if you're gonna go with different colors for it, I felt like personally I would have enjoyed if they really switched up the color combination. Like you went black base again, like maybe make the base white because the Dino and the writing both being in white, something about it throws me off in the way where it feels like you're not done making it yet. Like it reminds me of like when you're in Microsoft Paint and you have the paint bucket tool and you can just like click on the different sections and fill them in with color. Like I feel like they've yet to do that with this. They still need to fill in those sections with color. And like I don't know, like maybe it's just like again lack of purple, like you said. I get people's gripes with the chevron thing, but I'm assuming there's like brand timelines and stuff, and they can't just rebrand willy nilly just because the fans don't want to anymore. Like there's probably too much
Yeah.
invested in this kind of stuff. That's my assumption. But overall, like I don't hate it right now, but I am far from loving it. Like it just feels incomplete still. I would have if you were gonna like basically reuse the same design, I would have liked for you to go at least a bit more out there with the colors. Again, make it a white jersey with like the red dino or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it might not even be complete. Again, this is a leak.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
that's true.
still, it might not be the full thing. I believe there was a tweak on the last one from last year. If I'm remembering correctly, the leak was a bit different than what it came out to be. It was pretty much the same thing, but there was a difference. Yeah, no, I completely understand all that. I didn't even until you had just brought it up. I didn't realize it was I didn't even think about the 22 city edition.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was just a reprint of that with the different color scheme. I guess just keeping in, yeah, I don't know. The white, it kind of works for me. Um, I think it's something like we've never seen something like that before, right? With any sort of Raptors jersey, a white Raptor.
No, no, not that I know. Unless it was like a custom or like you know how like Mitchell and Ness sometimes makes like a really
Uh,
wacky like remake type of thing, maybe something like that. But yeah, like to that point, I can't remember when was the last time the Raptors had like a city edition or like a different edition jersey that was like again white base. I feel like maybe there was one recently. I'm not recalling. Like last year, they obviously had the purple retro Vince Carter throwbacks. They had the Vince Carter dunk like city edition one, like which were again a black base jersey. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I really like back in the day. Obviously, the purple Dino jersey is the most iconic one, but those white versions were pretty sweet too, in my opinion. I really like them.
yeah,
So like, I
yeah,
would like to
yeah.
see some white kind of come back.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts to blend together for me with these jerseys. I'm not the biggest like jersey guy. I got the most bland jersey over my left shoulder. Yeah, over my
Yeah,
left shoulder there. So I honestly like it's I get why people get a little ticked off about it. So I feel like some people get a little like too ticked off about it because it's
yeah,
to
fair.
me it's not like the worst, but yeah, I overall if I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'll give it a like a 5, like a 5 or a 6. And I feel like
Okay.
I'm on the high end of liking them, but hey, they tried something different. It might not land for everybody, which is fine. Like obviously not everybody's gonna like it, but I
Mhm.
do like that they tried, I guess, something different with the colors, even though it was like a basically the same design from a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'll guess like I guess I'll give it like a 3.5 to 4 right now. To your earlier point, Cody, all of this could very well change because this is a possible leak, and also we'll have to see what they look like on the players. We'll have to see what they look like on the court. Like you said, people's
Yeah.
opinions usually I don't want to say change, but they usually get impacted at least by seeing them on court and like in person. So that can make a lot of difference for a lot of people. So we will have to wait and see. But let's shift now, Cody, to some general NBA talk. And obviously, the only game action going on currently is the NBA Finals. As of recording this, game one and two have completed. Game one was ridiculous. The Pacers were down by like 15 with 9 minutes left. Stage a insane comeback. Basically, everyone contributed from guys like Obi Toppin hitting corner threes, Aaron Neesmith playing a big part defensively. Andrew Nemhard, I still have that step back over SGA like this burned into my brain. Like when I went to Kyle's like pickup basketball run, I was like trying to even do bits of it and remember it. Obviously, to very little success in comparison to Nemhard doing it on the biggest stage in basketball. And then Halliburton comes up huge, hits the big 2 point shot at the end to win that game with 0.3 seconds left. But game two is a different story for the Indiana Pacers. They basically got overwhelmed completely by the Thunder defense. The Thunder basically tried different things like bringing in a double big lineup that had success in there. They were really physical with Halliburton. Hallie basically was not able to get into the paint at all. He finished with 6 assists on 5 turnovers. He's averaging like 4 turnovers a game right now through the first 2 games in the series. Just not comfortable at all. He finished with 17 points, but 12 of them came in the fourth quarter when the game was basically out of hand. So two very, very different games in the end. They're tied 1-1, heading to Indiana for game three on Wednesday, again later in the day when this comes out. So, Cody, to start off, what have you made of the first 2 games of the NBA Finals?
Yeah, obviously game one, like holy, like I mean, that was insanity. Like that shot uh was crazy. Like I can't believe he did it again. That's like team of destiny. Like that's what everybody's saying, right? It's like
Yeah.
team of destiny. Um but yeah, honestly, like Halliburton wasn't even like that good in game one. Like
No, he wasn't.
but like it doesn't matter because you hit the game winner. And then yeah, in game two, again, OKC dominated for the most part again and just like didn't let up and didn't allow a comeback. It's so funny, like they're being so physical with Halliburton, and usually you like want to get to the paint and like, but like I've heard other people talk about this as well. Like they just have so when you get to the middle of the floor, they just have arms everywhere, and
Yeah.
their help is getting sent from everywhere. Like you got Caruso on you, you turn left, and you got Dort on you. It's it's tough, man. Like obviously we know about this OKC defense, so you don't need to keep talking about it. Yeah, Halliburton has been going through it, like you mentioned, didn't even play that well in game two, even though he led his team in scoring, but it all kind of came at a the numbers are kind of lying to you on that one. But
Mhm.
I mean, OKC, all the momentum has swung back to them after that game too. Like Indiana really never got into it. Like OKC disrupted them from tip to the final buzzer. I I wonder how many more games that Indiana can get their offense going against these guys. Like, can they do it for 3 more games? Like they got it's going to Indy now, so they got 3 games at home. Most likely. Yeah, right. Yeah, most likely. It's not confirmed that they have 3 games at home. Or
No, two. Yeah, they would have
the
3 games
series,
possibly if the series extends past like
yeah,
yeah,
the series
yeah,
technically could end, but more than likely they should have 3 games at home unless OKC just wins 4
wins
straight.
out from here. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, is possible. Like if OKC wins game 2, then I think that I'd predict right now that's what would happen if OKC wins game 2, I think. I mean, I don't want to count the Pacers out if they go down, but
Yeah.
it's tough to come back against these guys in a game and especially in a series.
Yeah, I reiterated this last week. Again, I didn't come up with this, I guess, like phrase or like way to summarize the series. It was Caitlin Cooper who covers the Indiana Pacers beat. She said that the Thunder are great at creating problems and the Pacers have been great at solving them. In game 1, you kind of saw the Pacers solve a bit of what the Thunder were doing. And again, it was because the Thunder tried to do something different. I guess their idea was going a bit smaller to keep up with Indiana's pace. And they didn't go with guys like Chet Holmgren or like Isaiah Hartenstein as longer. They had more minutes in game 2, but then the Pacers were able to take advantage of that. Again, the Pacers, I talked about this last time. In game 1, they took advantage of the way the Thunder like to defend. The Thunder will give up a bunch of corner threes, so you take the ball out of their stars' hands. Guys like Obi Toppin, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nemhard, all these guys around were making corner threes, and it was making the Thunder have to move things around. You saw a lot more freedom for guys like Pascal Siakam, who in game 2, there was a moment, if you're watching the broadcast, Tyrese Halliburton was basically saying, "Keep sealing. I'll keep trying to get you the ball." And Pascal was just like, "Dude, I'm trying." Like he basically was just flustered entirely. He didn't really know what to say other than like, "I'm giving it my best," but these guys are just hounding me constantly, which is completely fair from Pascal Siakam. It is hard to kind of deal with this defense. So in game 2, when they did adjust, whether it was the double big stuff, whether it was the help that they're sending around and being more physical with a guy like Hallie and Pascal, like now it's on Indiana in game 3 to, again, solve this problem one more time. And that was your point, Cody, right? Like, can their offense figure it out to keep this series going? That is truly the big question right now. If they can't generate paint touches and kind of penetrate and force this defense to bend a little bit, it's going to be a really hard time for them. Raptors Republic's very own Esparahini, he put out a tweet today talking about the paint touches, and basically in the first 2 games, the team that won the paint touch battle has won each game. Obviously, that's not the entire story, but Halliburton basically through 2 games is averaging less than like 10% of his paint touch. 10% of his touches or less are in the paint right now. Like this dude just can't get into the paint against his team, and we know Hallie is a great player at driving and kicking and generating that way, and it opens up the rest of his game. And right now, he's just not able to get into the paint much, if at all, against this team. So if your engine can't kind of generate the looks that he's used to, then it's going to be a really hard time for other guys to be able to do things offensively for Indiana. I am interested to see, again, I tweeted this basically in response to what S posted, where like towards the end of game 2, the Indiana Pacers were trying some stuff with Halliburton, basically bringing him off ball more, whether it's pitches or different type of handoffs, basically giving him a running start. And he was able to break loose for a couple of plays. He had like a floater and then a dunk off of like semi-transition. Obviously, like you said, Cody, those are towards the end of the game. The decision was basically already had. Maybe OKC wasn't really trying to defend the same way at that point. So we'll see how much of that really does come into play in the game 3. But I think that's really what it comes down to. Can this offense figure out just some kind of a crack in this defense? Can they make some kind of adjustment to make OKC have to defend differently again? And unless they do, I think I'm leaning with you where the series might end up kind of closing sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it should help with them being at home. I mean, OKC is doing a really good job at not letting the Pacers get out and run. Like,
Yeah.
and that's like their whole game. At home, it should help. It should
Mhm.
just naturally to be better. And last thing I'll say on it, like the Thunder haven't necessarily been the best on the road in these playoffs. 4-3
Yeah.
on the road. They've lost a game away the last 2 series, including 2 against Denver. So, I mean, hey, that indie crowd is going to be nuts. Like that's a basketball state, and they are
We've been
all
waiting
behind the
25
Pacers.
years.
So, and this could be the Pacers' best chance in well, it's the Pacers' best chance in a long time, and I guess they got a brighter future going. So maybe they could be back, but I mean, I think. Yeah, if you're Indy, you gotta at least take one at home, right? Like you can't go down 3-1, obviously. So um they come out and play with more pace. And just I'm honestly not even sure what Halliburton can do. Like, I don't know. Nobody's been able to really crack these defensive minded guards. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you. I mean, maybe go ask Caitlin, Cooper, and Sampson. They've been
They probably
covering
have
this
more
a lot.
ideas than we do.
They've been covering it a lot closer than myself for sure. Yeah, it's been, I guess, a fun series. Game one was a lot more fun than game two. Game
Mhm.
two was a little bit of a slog, I guess, but that's OKC. And when they're making Indiana look like sluggish like that's a testament because those guys do not look like that usually. So yeah, back home to Indy. Back home to Indy. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, back home to Indy, I think a word you used, Cody, was momentum. I think that's going to be super important for this Indiana team. Like, if you ask Indiana and their fans, like coming into the series, if you split the first two games, a lot of them would probably say, like, we'll gladly take that. But the way that split happened, like you said, and how overwhelming game two was, like, Indy was within single digits for good chunks of that game. But I don't think anyone really thought they were going to complete the comeback like they kind of inched towards in game one. I remember watching game one with a buddy, and like after halftime, he was like, I feel like Indiana's gonna come back. I just feel like they're figuring this out. Versus game two, everyone watching was kind of like, no, it looks like OKC has control of this. And that took away a lot of the juice from that game one and the stealing it and the momentum Indiana game from it. So that if they really do want to kind of recapture some of that spark and carry it from game to game, you want them to kind of have a bit of a statement performance in one of these two games. So we'll see if they can do it. But yeah, Cody, looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, last thing, I was just this is kind of reminding me of the Denver series for OKC. Lost a close one in game one, lost by two, then
Yeah.
blew the brakes off of the Nuggets in game two, winning by 43, and all the momentum swung back to OKC. But then Denver came out and won game three in OT. So and then OKC would obviously win three of the next four to win the series. So I mean, I don't know. The Nuggets and Pacers, I think the Pacers are better than Denver, I would say.
Yeah.
They obviously don't have like the best player on earth, but as a team, like they're just so much deeper. It's not
Oh,
even
way
close.
deeper.
And
Yeah.
I think play with OKC a bit better than uh Denver does. So I don't know. Maybe we're counting Indy out, or maybe I'm counting Indy out a little bit too much. They've been counted out all playoffs pretty much. Like if they win, this would be the most unlikely champion in like forever. I should have found the odds for like their preseason odds of winning the championship because I'm sure it was way up there. And I'm sure if somebody took them, like they would be going they'd be pretty happy with themselves right now. But yeah, this is playing out similarly to how OKC and Denver played out. So I wonder if Indy's gonna get another win back or if OKC's gonna change it up a little bit and win two straight.
Yeah, look, this Pacers team, I think they're kind of at their best at times when their backs are against the wall, or at least when they're doubted. And all the numbers say the team up, like I guess not up because it's this tied series, but like most of the numbers suggest like OKC is looking really good right now. And again, like if you look at game threes throughout these playoffs, Indiana hasn't won a game three yet. I'm pretty sure, like this entire playoffs. They're 0-3
Interesting.
so far. So let's see if the game three woes come after them again. Can they kind of buck that trend? But I think at the end of the day, this Indiana team has been doubted again and again and again throughout these playoffs and kind of entering this season, especially after this slow start. So if there's a team that has the ability and the resilience to kind of turn things around, I do think it is this Pacers team. So we'll just have to wait and see again game three on Wednesday. But yeah, Cody, I want to like kind of go on a bit of a, I guess, lighthearted note, maybe not. It's another like aesthetic thing, but I kind of
Okay.
want to get your thoughts on this. But obviously, if you've been a fan of NBA basketball for quite some time, you know back in the day, a very common thing for the presentation of the NBA Finals was logos on the court. From big Larry O'Brien championship logos kind of pasted on mid-court to the NBA Finals signature script put onto like different sides of the basketball court, and that was a thing fans really enjoyed. It's a lot of this like I guess it kind of speaks to this complaint where we don't have that nowadays. It's like, well, the NBA Finals doesn't feel special. It feels like any other game. They're not really making it feel like it's an occasion. It's not. It's not being treated like the Super Bowl is in the NFL, for example, right? Like you don't have that pageantry associated with it. So I guess the NBA kind of heard those complaints and decided, you know what, we'll give these guys what they want, but not really. So if you're watching on YouTube here, I'm going to put it up here. This is the solution that the NBA came up with, or maybe the broadcasting team with ESPN came up with. They digitally pasted logos onto the court, but they made them tiny as hell. This is not the Larry O'Brien trophy pasted on the entire midcourt. These are two tiny trophies on opposite sides of the basketball court, and they just look, again, just super pasted on there. I don't know what your thoughts are, Cody, but just what do you think?
I saw someone on Twitter quote tweet that image and be like, in quotation marks, like the NBA being like, "Here, damn, take it." Like sort of like just like, okay, geez, you want something? Like here you go. I mean, this is something I can more than like the jerseys. This is something more I can get behind where I fully am in support of. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like obviously with the commentary, like that's all you're really having to go off of for this, and visually there's really not much. So yeah, I like even like the score bug I feel like could be switched up a little bit as well for
Yeah,
just to add to the viewing pleasure. But yeah, it feels pretty bare bones. It's something I didn't even really I guess like it didn't even come to the top of my mind until like other people started pointing it out, and I was like, oh yeah, this really is just not feeling like how it used to. Or even I'm trying to remember like what the branding looked like last year, but yeah, I definitely would like to see more changes, I guess. I mean, it's kind of hard to do it mid-series and it doesn't
yeah,
feel authentic, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But yeah, that's something I can get behind. Obviously, I think we're all in agreement that looks like pop that up again. Like that looks like really
yeah.
cheap. Like, that
Let's
looks
look at this again. This is kind
that
of sad to look at.
yeah, that looks
Uh,
terrible. I guess the score bug is a little bit different at the bottom there, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So like in general, Cody, I'm guessing you're like your thumbs up on like finals logos and like putting those things on the court, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think most fans are basically. I think it was in 2014 when the NBA stopped doing this. Don't quote me on that. And this big conversation around it had to do with this idea of like, well, it's a safety thing because like obviously putting more like different like prints or materials on the court can maybe cause slippage and whatnot. That explanation does lose a lot of merit when you look at these days in the NBA Cup courts, which they are doing, which some teams haven't been able to actually properly install because of issues like that. Some players have complained because there's been slipping issues. I think Luka Doncic, the first year of the NBA Cup, complained about that being the case. So maybe the NBA just needs somebody to pay for the courts, and then they'll do it because that's what it comes down to these days. It's all about dollars. So who knows what that is? But in general, I think you can't half-ass it like this. That's my point. Like you said, Cody, like they're tiny. They were there. They took them away after a couple minutes. Then they threw on the NBA Finals like script logo on there digitally for a couple minutes and got rid of those too. Like if you're gonna do it, don't half-ass it. Like commit to it. Make it look like pageantry. It can be gimmicky. It can be cheesy. Yeah. But right now, the way the presentations are going is like you're basically relying on the fan atmosphere and the quality of the basketball game to do all of the work for you. Which, like you saw in that second game against OKC and Indiana, like it wasn't the most exciting game. So it was a bit of a slog. So you're not going to get that intense atmosphere like you did in game one. So if you're kind of banking on that, you're selling yourself a little short. Like again, the Super Bowl may not be the best example because it's such an extreme, it's a single game elimination type of thing. But at the end of the day, like good or bad Super Bowl, you know it's an event. You know people are going to get together for it. You know it's going to be something that feels extra special, which the NBA hasn't really been able to capture these last couple of years. Like you even said, Cody, that score bug. The word finals is tinier than everything else on there, and it's next to it is presented by YouTube TV, which I get you have like media obligations and sponsorships and yada yada, but like make it feel like it's special, you know?
Yeah, totally in agreement. Okay. Final thing here. I have a timer ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
I'm I'm
Ooh.
I'm branding this Zulfi's. I don't know. We got Zulfi's CEBL minute, Z's CEBL minute or something. Anyways,
We'll workshop it.
we did it last week. You went a little overboard, but you get some time. Obviously, if you go over, I'm not gonna wait. Like, I'm not gonna like make you stop. But
You're gonna
uh,
drop me from the stream yard. You're gonna be like, no, this guy's done. I'll close it for
yeah.
you.
All right, Zulfi, recap the last week of CEBL. Go.
All right, let's do it. Another week of CBL hoops. It was actually a lot of fun this week, Cody. The Montreal Lions, of all the teams, are atop the Eastern Conference. They're 4-0. They set a new franchise record for points in a game in back-to-back games, largely because their new addition, Tavian Dunn-Martin. He's been huge. He's averaging 22 points a game. He's making 4 threes a game on 46%. Again, Tavian Dunn-Martin, he's been awesome for them. The Lions have not been good the last 2 seasons, their first 2 years in the league, but now all of a sudden they've completely turned it around. The next thing, the Bandits, they lost their first game to the Calgary Surge, but they've gotten back to their winning ways. They're 7-1 atop the West. They're 4-0 on the road. The Brampton Honey Badgers got their first win of the season. No more winless teams in the CEBL. They took care of business against Winnipeg at home. Fun win for the Honey Badgers. They're now 1-6, I believe. And a couple notable returns for the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Cat Barber, one of the all-time leading scorers and assist guys, is back with the Scarborough Shooting Stars. They haven't been doing so hot so far, but hopefully he can help them turn it around and get that chemistry back. And Jalen Harris, Raptors fans should know him, former Raptors draft pick. He made his debut with the Winnipeg Seabears. I believe this is his 4th consecutive year in the CEBL. His first game wasn't all that great. His second game, though, he hit a game winner for the Winnipeg Seabears. He banked in a midi jumper from the left elbow. Jalen Harris is back. He holds the league record for points in a game at 45 he set last year with Saskatchewan. So keep a lookout for him. But that does it for me. I covered everything CEBL. Did I get it all in a minute, Cody?
Oh, no. You were like 30 seconds over. But it's fine. It's fine.
It felt so good. I thought I did it.
No, you honestly, it's fine because you're jam packing in a lot of information in there. Honestly, it's crazy to me how the Western Conference is like. There's clearly a tier. Like, there's clearly the Bandits and the Surge at 7-1 and 6-2, and then the Sea Bears, Stingers, and Rattlers are all 2-5, kind of fighting for that third place spot in the West. So, the Alliance, the worst team the last 2 years, and now are undefeated. Quincy Guerrier.
Complete turnaround, man. Yeah, Quincy, your guy.
That's my guys. So yeah, lots of Raptors and former Raptors or Raptors ties, doing good things in the CEVL. But anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Nothing super major. I was actually I was at a Brampton Honey Badgers game against the Montreal Lions. So I talked to Quincy, asked him a bit about his time with the 905 and how that played into this. I think it was just a lot about, like we talked about, Cody, with him. His roles changed a ton, so he's kind of used to being a consummate pro, just throughout volatility and stuff like that. And then with the Montreal Lions, he basically gets to shine in a way where he wasn't necessarily asked to with the 905. So if you were a fan of Quincy Guerrier's game and you wanted to see more of it that you couldn't see with the 905 roster, I highly, highly recommend checking out the Montreal Lions. He is one of their captains. He's obviously a hometown guy playing for Montreal. And you see some of the stuff he does there. He brings the ball up for them a bunch. He's handling. I saw him hit a size up step back 3 at one point, which I don't think I hadn't seen him do that at all with the 905. So obviously he gets to be one of the guys for this team. So it's a lot of fun if you want to watch him. Other than that, I know Kyle wanted us to mention this, so we'll do it for him. Tristan Jass, T-Jass, he's obviously still recovering from a hamstring injury. He is not currently playing, but you obviously, if you know who T-Jass is, he is a social media influencer who got his first pro contract with the CBL and the Vancouver Bandits. Super cool. But he recently released a YouTube video chronicling the start of that journey. So it shows him arriving in Vancouver, speaking to head coach and general manager Kyle Julius, going through his first workouts, from getting team gear to going through practices to meeting his teammates. All very cool inside access type of stuff. Even for a guy like me who's been covering the CEBL for the actual league for a couple seasons, this is stuff I haven't even gone to see really up close like this before. So this is awesome access from him. If you want to learn about how the Bandits do things, again, obviously, like you said, Cody, a very, very good team at 7-1. See how they operate. It's different than some other teams. Check out that YouTube video. But that's all I had for the CEBL.
I think that's all we got today. More trade buzz, some CEBL, obviously. What else we talk about today? Oh yeah, the
jerseys.
NBA finals.
Yeah, the NBA finals, jerseys.
So funky episode, but Yeah, what's on the docket next week? I think we got to do some draft stuff,
Yeah.
right?
We gotta
I'm not
circle it
sure.
back for some draft stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that'll be our final show before the draft. I don't think so. Maybe I think we'll be able to squeak in one more like the day before the draft. So,
Yeah.
yeah, run it back. It's probably going to be pretty heavy on the draft the next couple of weeks, but I think we're all excited for that.
Absolutely. And let us know down in the comments below if you have any specific questions, draft related, that you want us to cover, whether there's some
Yeah.
prospects that we haven't talked about. I know guys like Samson and Trey will be doing their draft coverage. Cody and Brandon, I don't know if you guys are possibly cooking us some other draft stuff. We shall see. But if you guys have any specific questions about draft stuff or otherwise, let us know down in the comments below. And for the stuff we covered today, did you like the Raptors' possible leaked jerseys? Let us know below. Do you think the finals logo should come back in the NBA? Let us know about that as well. But that'll do it for us here at Run It Back for this week. In the meantime, obviously, please be sure to subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel, like this video so it can reach more people. And obviously, all your Raptors news, opinions, and analysis will continue to be at raptorsrepublic.com. Off-season content still going strong. Like Cody said, the NBA draft is only a couple of days away. We are getting so close. But until then, for myself, Kyle, and Cody, we'll see you next time when we run it back. Peace.